Angelina Kelly, talkSPORT's women's football correspondent, has joined us as well to talk about the departure of Marc Skinner from Manchester United. How are we doing?
Yeah, well, good. How are you?
I'm good. You're pleased the hat's not here today.
Yes, that hat needs fumigating, burning, whatever we can do. Or donating, maybe, somewhere.
There was a suggestion we might auction it off for charity. Can we get a few quid?
No one's buying that. Come on.
Darragh might.
Nothing you've worn, mate. Nobody's buying that.
You could buy it with all the money you've not spent on players so far this summer.
Dig.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been like that all the time. He's like a Peter
I'm
fan.
sorry.
Yeah.
How big a shock was this when the news broke yesterday?
You know what? It was 50-50 because I think when you look at Marc Skinner's time at Manchester United, it has been quite turbulent. On one hand, you look at it and think he has actually overachieved because the amount of money that he has to play with versus Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester City is significantly less. And, you know, he got Manchester United women their first piece of silverware ever in the FA Cup, got fourth, third, fifth,
Champions
second,
League.
fourth, got them into the Champions League for the first time in their history. So on one side, you have to say he did overachieve. However, on the other side of the coin, people were frustrated. The fans weren't his biggest fan. People were quite critical of the choices that he was making. They got to 4 domestic cup finals in total, won one of them. The other 3 they lost on aggregate to Chelsea 6-0.
Wow.
So it's not great in that sense. And I think that his departure is kind of similar to the Eddie Howe situation. I think that you're looking at a manager who, within his world, is very well respected. Ex-professional footballers that I speak to speak very highly of Marc Skinner. Whenever I've spoken to him, he's always been very polite, very respectful, etc. And I think he's looked at this and thought, this club are not willing to invest in this women's team. I'm going into a new season. The issues last season were lack of squad depth and wanting, you know, big stars that can show up on the big stage. He hasn't got that. A lot of players have been sold. The squad depth is less. And he's looking at it and thinking, I'm not going to be able to do anything with this team. And I think for his own reputation, partly, he's thought, I need to walk away from this. And in a sense, it is kind of similar to the Eddie Howe situation. The powers that be aren't backing you. I think the key difference is that Newcastle perhaps couldn't spend money. Manchester United women won't spend money.
Well, that's interesting that you've hit upon that, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe gave an interview to Bloomberg back in June 2024, and he was talking about his investment into the women's team.
I haven't asked you what you're doing with the women at Manchester United.
Well, they've just won the FA Cup.
But do you look for, I mean, would you spin it off?
So we haven't. Again,
an investor come in like Chelsea has?
we haven't really. We haven't got into that level of detail with the women's football team yet. I mean, we've been pretty much focused on how do we resolve the first team issues really in that environment, and that's been pretty full time for the first 6 months. So,
TBC.
Correct.
I've got to defend him a little bit. Wasn't he just through the door? How long had he been in when he did that interview?
It was quite a dismissive response, though, wasn't it?
I get all of that, and I understand that. Nobody wants to upset, you know what I mean, anybody within their football club. But you're going into one of the biggest clubs in the world. You haven't won a league title since the old king died. You know, fans are baying. They need success. They need success now. And the transfer policies weren't great. He probably had a to-do list.
He's been there for 5 months. He's meant to be a...
Well, hang on, let me finish.
Educated.
You know, he is an educated businessman, but he had a to-do list as long as you're on, or as long as his studio. So that probably threw him, where he's probably like, look, I haven't sat down and even spoke about the women's team. And nobody wants to disrespect the female team in any football club. But at the end of the day, the team that's bringing in the mass amount of revenue into Manchester United worldwide, and I don't want to be unpopular saying this, is the men's team.
Yeah, definitely. I just think it doesn't help matters when you don't even know who your women's team captain is.
Get that.
You don't even know her name. It's going to come across as a bit disrespectful. And I do take your point in that sense. But when you look at the other big teams, you look at Arsenal, you look at Chelsea, you look at Brighton, you look at a lot of different teams that have men's and women's sides, they are pumping money into the women's side. And they're not turning a profit on that. You know, Manchester United just about turned a profit last season. More or less, it was quite more closer to breaking even, to be completely honest. But other clubs, they aren't making money on this. However, they continuously are pumping money into the women's side because they see this as an investment. I would ask you guys, Tony Bloom, a good owner? a smart businessman.
Fantastic owner.
Tony Bloom is pumping money into Brighton Women. He made the decision. I was at the press conference. He is building a stadium in Brighton
just for them,
for the women. Not just an extra stadium, but specifically designed for women.
And he must feel like he can make money out of that, because Tony Bloom is not someone who's just going to chuck money away for its own sake for optics.
No, but Tony Bloom would also have that side where he thinks maybe it's the right thing to do. And in Ratcliffe's defence, he's not the only owner at Manchester United. There's a lot of other owners. There's a lot of other moving pieces. So I don't know the ins and outs of what Chelsea and Arsenal spent. I don't know what Liverpool spent. And I'll be saying I'm ignorant enough to know I haven't done enough research into the kind of money all those clubs have spent. You're saying United haven't spent enough. I'm sure it's something they're going to have to address. The last 18 months, a lot of changes have happened at Man United, particularly with the men's team. And I'm sure the women's team, something they're going to say, well, this isn't looking good publicly. Yeah. It's got to be on the to-do docket. I know some of the people behind the scenes now. I've talked to quite a few of them this summer. I think they've got some great people at the club, and I think you'll see a change on that in time.
I think the issue is that sources are claiming that the club feel that spending is not sustainable in the women's game. So the focus is on sustainability with homegrown players, which is understood to fit the identity of developing youth, etc. And they want to go down this route.
Homegrown players is just code for doing it on the cheap, though, isn't it?
Well, exactly. This is my opinion, in that if you want to bring in young homegrown talent, you need to have something to show. And at the moment, they have absolutely nothing. Going into this new season, they have a fantastic goalkeeper. They have a captain who is a wonderful centre-back in Maya Letizia. They have Ella Toone, who is the biggest star at Manchester United. And they have Jess Park, who has been wonderful, who came over from Manchester City. Minus that, they have that one spine of decent players. There is nothing else to show that they really care about this club and that they are building around those players to actually achieve something. Because the way things are, London City Lionesses spending a lot of money, bringing in a 2-time Ballon d'Or winner. Tottenham.
We know Martin Semmens is in there. You'll have come across Martin. No, when he was at Southampton as chief exec. Well, he is certainly.
He's working for Michelle Young.
Yeah. So the thing is, either Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going down this sustainable route as far as we understand, and he believes he is smarter than the Arsenal owners, than Tony Bloom, than Michelle Kang, etc., etc. He genuinely believes he's onto something. Or perhaps this is a situation where they realise that they don't want to put the money into it. It's not viable in Jim Ratcliffe's mind at the moment, and he just wants to cast it to the side.
So you said about the homegrown things, otherwise known as cheap. Well, one of the greatest clubs of the 21st century of producing homegrown talent from their academy was Manchester United. So I'd argue that, are they putting more money into the academy?
It depends.
Has he
where
got a class of 92 then? Is it that we said
we don't know that
equivalent?
But in 10 years' time, they might.
It depends, because the senior women's side has only been established since 2018.
Sure.
A lot of young female players were at Manchester United, but then they got to the end of the road and it was see you later. Even someone like Ella Toone, she had to play football when she was younger at Blackburn, at Manchester City, because it wasn't there. So I just struggle to understand how Manchester United, what the plan is, and I would love to know, to make sure that this youth system is going to be so seamless that it can compete with Arsenal, with Chelsea, with these other big clubs. I'm just not too sure how they're going to do that. And when you think about it, what Manchester United women would need, about 10 million, which is what, less than Mason Mount earns a year?
Per year. 10 million a year.
In 1 year,
right.
Yeah? So that's less than Mason Mount earns in a year, right? Sure. And I understand you can't just get rid of Mason Mount and take that money, but what they're asking for isn't hundreds and hundreds of millions. It's nothing on the men's side, and that would make such a massive difference to make Manchester United women be able to compete, so that they are competing with Arsenal, with Chelsea. So you're bringing those fans in, because young fans now, it's not always the club, sometimes it's the players. There will be people that supported Man United women when Alessia Russo was there. Now she's at Arsenal. People switch gears. And I just think that in order to carry on pushing this, you still need to be bringing in big players. You still need to be putting on a little bit of a show. And the way that things are going, to have a couple of decent players and that's about it, I don't know how they're going to even hold on to the fan base that they've got.
What is their fan base at the moment?
As in the size of it?
Yeah, what is it?
I mean, they play at a rugby stadium. You're getting, I think the capacity about 4,000 is the most that they've had. When they're going to Old Trafford and playing, they're getting, I wouldn't say any more than 10,000.
Right.
When you compare that to Arsenal, I go to Arsenal, I go match reporting, you're looking at 20, 30, 40,000 plus. You know, I want to see Manchester United, Michael. I want to see them competing with that, and I understand it can't be done overnight, but stripping the club for parts, as it feels to me as a fan, is not going to get them there to be competing with Arsenal, with Chelsea, playing their games at Stamford Bridge, at the Emirates. It's such a chasm in difference.
Angelina, brilliant as always. You're back to host Transfer Insiders on Thursday?
Yes, on Thursday night.
Look forward to that. I shall listen to you in the Algarve. Angelina Kelly there, bringing us back up to date on Marc Skinner's departure from the Manchester United women's team. You are listening to Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony in for White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.